Think about the worst rumor anyone ever spread about you. Now raise the stakes. In the 2nd century, Romans whispered that Christians met in the dark for incestuous orgies, and that new members were initiated by eating a baby baked into a loaf of bread. Archaeologists have even found a piece of Roman graffiti mocking a believer, a crucified figure with a donkey's head scratched with the words, "Alex Aminos worships his God." That was the neighborhood gossip. The law was worse. For roughly 2.5 centuries, from Nero to Constantine, simply being a Christian was a crime. So this episode asks the survival question: how did the church endure an empire's fists, the intellectuals' mockery, and, strangest of all, counterfeit Christianities rising from within? The historian Justo González traces all 3 attacks, and his answer is the twist. Each one forged something you can still hold in your hands today, including the table of contents of your New Testament. The attacks came in 3 waves. Start with the fire. On the night of June 18th, in the year 64, Rome began to burn. The fire raged 6 days and 7 nights. 10 of the city's 14 districts were destroyed. The Emperor Nero, widely rumored to be mad, needed someone to blame, and he chose the Christians. The historian Tacitus, no friend of the church, records what followed. The leavers, wrapped in animal skins and torn by dogs, crucified or set ablaze so that they might illumine the night in Nero's own gardens. Peter and Paul both likely died in this persecution. A generation later, under the Emperor Domitian, it flared again. That's the persecution that gave us the Book of Revelation, written from exile on Patmos. But here's what most people get wrong, and González is emphatic about it. After Nero, persecution was rarely a madman's rampage. It was policy, and weirdly reluctant policy at that. In the year 111, the governor Pliny wrote the Emperor Trajan asking what to do with accused Christians, and Trajan's answer set the rule for a century. Don't seek them out. But if someone is accused and refuses to recant, execute. The Christian lawyer Tertullian later shredded the logic. If they're innocent enough to ignore, why punish them? If guilty, why not hunt them? And the philosopher Emperor Marcus Aurelius, author of the Meditations, one of the most enlightened minds of his age, presided over some of the worst of it. González's sobering conclusion: it was not usually the worst emperors who persecuted Christians. Sometimes it was the best. Rome saw a movement whose loyalty ran higher than Caesar and treated it as subversion. What the empire got in return was witness. The old bishop Ignatius marched to Rome to die around 107, begging his friends not to save him. "I am God's wheat." Polycarp of Smyrna, in 155, offered freedom for one curse. "For 86 years I have served him, and he has done me no evil. How could I curse my king?" The widow Felicitas, facing a Roman prefect with her 7 sons. "If you kill me, in my death I shall defeat you all the more." The blood did not stop the movement, it advertised it. But fists were only the first weapon. The second was laughter. The cultured elite found Christianity intellectually embarrassing. Under Marcus Aurelius, an intellectual named Celsus wrote a whole book sneering that the faith spread through wool workers and cobblers, the least cultured and most ignorant kind, whispering to women and children in the tannery. And so a new kind of Christian stepped forward, the apologists, from apologia, a formal defense speech, not an apology. They dismantled the rumors. How could people forbidden even evil thoughts be running orgies? It's pagans, they noted acidly, who abandon unwanted infants to die. Christians were known for rescuing them. And their greatest thinker, Justin Martyr, made a move that still shapes Christian thought. The Logos, the divine reason behind the universe, which John's Gospel says became flesh in Jesus, is the source of all truth everywhere. Whatever Socrates and Plato got right, they got from the same word. Not every Christian agreed. Tertullian famously snapped, "What does Athens have to do with Jerusalem?" And that argument is still running. But the era's loveliest self-portrait comes from an anonymous defense called the Letter to Diognetus. Christians live in their own countries, but as sojourners. They live on earth, but are citizens of heaven. The third attack was the strangest, because it came from inside. Christianity was young and, in González's phrase, still so ill-defined you could almost speak of Christianities. Into that opening moved Gnosticism, from gnosis, knowledge, a vast movement teaching that matter itself is evil, that your spirit is a spark trapped in a corpse, and that Christ was a heavenly messenger bringing a secret password knowledge to escape this world. Some Gnostic systems mapped out as many as 365 spiritual beings. Most denied Jesus had a real body at all. He only seemed human, a doctrine called Docetism. And then came Marcion, a bishop's son who arrived in Rome around 144 with a tidier, more dangerous version. The vengeful creator God of the Old Testament, he taught, was a different and lesser God than the loving Father of Jesus. He threw out the Hebrew scriptures entirely and drew up his own approved reading list, Paul's letters and an edited Luke. It was the first attempt at a New Testament. Then he built a rival church that lasted for centuries. And here is González's great point. The Church's answer to the counterfeits is the equipment of Christianity ever since. Against Marcion's pruned list, the Church affirmed a plural canon, deliberately keeping 4 Gospels, differences and all, as multiple witnesses against any one man's edited version. No council voted this. A consensus grew, settled by one practical question. Is this book to be read when the Church gathers for worship? Against secret knowledge, churches sharpened their baptismal confession, the ancestor of the Apostles' Creed, written down in Rome around 150. They called it the symbol of the faith, and that's our word of the day. A symbolon was a recognition token, like the half coin a general gave a messenger. The creed was a password, every phrase aimed at a counterfeit. Father Almighty, this material world is God's, not some lesser being's botch. Born of the Virgin Mary, he didn't just appear. Crucified under Pontius Pilate, a datable historical event. And against secret successions, an open one. Teaching handed down in public from the apostles in churches anyone could enter, which began calling themselves Catholic, according to the whole. So look again at the things Christians still carry. A New Testament with 4 Gospels. A creed recited at baptisms. Even the word Catholic. None of it dropped from the sky. It was forged, under slander, under mockery, under fire. The empire spread rumors. The church answered with witnesses, the kind you could name, date, and bury. They loved all, said the old letter, and all persecuted them. And still they multiplied.